Hi everyone, my name is Divya Ravindranath, and at IIHS I work a lot on gender, look at women's work, and also on care infrastructure and social protection.
I'm Neha Sami. I work largely on questions of urban and regional governance, looking particularly at questions of large infrastructure, environmental governance, and I teach on these subjects as well. And I also anchor the research office at IIHS. And so we'll start things off by just walking you through the structure of the Masters in Urban Studies and Practice, and then open up for questions shortly after. So just give us a minute while we share our screen. Um, so as all of you know, the focus today is on the Master of Arts in Urban Studies and Practice, um, which is like all of our other masters, a full-time 2-year program, which is located here at the IIHS campus in Bangalore. It is designed primarily to create system integrators who work across multiple disciplines and sectors, and also focusing particularly on building research skills amongst a new generation of urban students. The focus really is on taking a systems route and a systems approach to urban studies and practice across a set of key systems that help our cities function the way they do, ranging from governance all the way to environmental systems. Um, all of this information is also available on our website and in the prospectus. So please do go ahead and download that if you want to.
For the master's program that we're talking about today, the applicants must have a bachelor's degree. And as we said, we welcome all subjects and disciplines. The age should not exceed 35 years. And this information is available online as well. And all applicants must have proficiency in reading English, though we give a lot of support to applicants who perhaps cannot speak English with great fluency, but can still be in the classroom, and we have enough language support for that. The procedure, the process that we follow during the selection is that it is, of course, merit based, but we also have several other criteria, which Neha will come to in a minute. But the emphasis is on the written essays and the interview in the first sort of entry, after the entrance exam. You want to talk about that?
So yeah, the application process is a two-step process. The first is the written application itself, which constitutes a set of information that is demographic information on your educational background, as well as a set of written essays. There's also an entrance exam, and then followed by the interview. So those who clear the entrance exam will then make it to part two of the interview. A shortlisted set of candidates will make it to the interview. Like Divya said, we also follow a weighted diversity points system across the admissions process. This is keeping in mind IIHS's principles and philosophies on creating an inclusive and diverse learning space that brings in people from diverse life experiences and backgrounds. A huge emphasis of what we do is on peer-to-peer learning, and a diverse classroom contributes tremendously to that process of peer-to-peer learning. So this is just a quick breakdown of what the program structure itself looks like. Like I said earlier, it's a 2-year interdisciplinary program. It's full-time. Each academic year consists of 3 terms. And these are the kinds of courses that you will do across your 2 years, ranging from foundation courses to core and electives. There are 2 types of practica that we offer as well as a whole range of basic and advanced methods courses. So just taking you through this again, these are the courses that are offered for the MA in Urban Systems and Practice. So there are a set of core theory courses that everybody across all the master's programs will take, across all 4 master's programs. These will happen across terms 1 and 2. There are also a set of core methods courses that you will take, which will also run across terms 1 and 2. And then you have the practica, which is a field-based learning course that will run again across terms 2 and 3. So you have a little bit of foundation that you build in term 1, and you take that into the practica across terms 2 and 3.
And then in the as we move ahead, you have something called as a general electives, wherein you could, you have to take at least two required courses. So these are some of the options that you have. That is in term three, and one general elective from any of the master's programs that are running at IIHS at the same time. And of course, then you also have the option of picking up five courses in across terms four and five, and these are interdisciplinary electives which help you to sort of figure out what is your niche within the urban studies program that you would like to go ahead with. So, and that's a great variety of courses, starting from cinema in the city to thinking about climate change and built environment. So it's a very interesting, diverse set of courses, and you can decide if you want to also mix and match a couple of them. So you can think about climate and health, for example, coming together, or you could think about social protection and governance or infrastructure coming together. So these are the kinds of baskets of courses that you could build for yourself as you move into the elective term.
Yeah, and I think the actual kind of the difference in this course as compared to the other master's courses that we're offering is that this is much more open-ended. It allows you to craft your own journey, your own learning journey, depending on the kinds of things you want to bring together, the kinds of things that you're interested in, like Divya said. So you could bring together, some courses from, say, in the environment or ecology side of things together with courses on economic development and infrastructure. So it enables you to craft your own learning journey. Again, this is a long list of the interdisciplinary electives that will be available.
All this information is online.
All of this is online. It's in the prospectus on our website, and I really encourage you to spend a bit of time going through that in detail. This is a list again of the interdisciplinary elective methods courses. So you choose any two courses out of this long list across terms 4 and 5. And as you can see, there's a blend of things from, mapping urban biodiversity, looking at ethnographic methods, data analytics, looking at mapping and communication skills. So it's meant to give you a very well-rounded experience of the kinds of things that you can learn, even in terms of the methods and skill level courses that cross multiple sectors and disciplines. And these are basically a set of the other kind of parts of the programs. So the foundation courses, both basic and advanced, are meant to encourage holistic all-round development. They include everything from learning to build and work with your hands on campus, but also looking at sort of maker spaces, like performance spaces. We also have a series of exposure visits across terms 1 to 4, and what we run across your terms 3 to 6 is professional research development, focusing on getting you ready for an internship and or a final dissertation.
So the career trajectories that we think that are going to map up with with this master's program is quite diverse. You could join the private sector, so that could be, say, in the finance space, could be in manufacturing and service sectors, among the others that are listed here. We are also imagining this to be a very good place for young entrepreneurs to think about what kinds of social entrepreneurship ventures they could start within the urban space. Of course, a lot of students are also likely to go into the government and public sector because of the kind of training they receive, as well as in the development sector, and also, of course, preparing you for getting towards a doctoral degree, and to get ready to be an educator yourself, as well as researchers and trainers. So be in the academia in the long term. So it's quite a diverse career trajectory path that could open up after this course in urban studies and practice.
And the QR code on your screen will take you to the website. The last date for applications is the 20th of June, but I would strongly encourage you to not wait until then. Please ensure that your application is complete well before the final date. We don't want to sort of have any hitches at the last moment, so we really encourage you not to wait right until the end to apply. We'll stop here and open up for questions. Feel free to either type them in the chat or unmute yourselves, or just raise your hand and speak. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have on the program or on IIHS if there's something we can help answer. we're happy to answer questions on, if you have more questions on the courses or on the admissions process, feel free to ask.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Manisha. I'm actually interested in this course. I just require a little bit more clarity between the MSc Urban Infrastructure course versus the Urban Studies course. In terms of both, what kind of subjects maybe we can. I read through the prospectus, but it's not easy for me to differentiate a lot of it because it's a long list of things. And the second thing is in terms of practicality, like whenever I'm discussing with my family or friends that hey, I'm doing this interdisciplinary, interested in this interdisciplinary course, the first thing that they ask is okay, what kind of jobs will you get later, or you're being a generalist kind of a thing. So how do I address those questions for myself and hence be able to communicate that to people?
Both very good questions, Manisha.
Maybe the difference you could.
Yeah, so the I'll take your first question. Question on the difference between the two courses. It really depends on where your interest lies and what kind of trajectory you'd like to choose. So if you're quite sure that you want to focus on economic development questions, for example, on questions of land, on questions of real estate, on sort of livelihoods and employment, or if you want to look at questions of, say, basic infrastructure, and how that comes together with economic development of our cities. Um, and you're clear that that's the trajectory you would want to do, both in terms of content, so in terms of the core courses you do, in terms of the practica, which is sort of the studio on the ground, which, for example, one of which focuses on land, real estate, and financing. There's also, so then I would suggest you look more towards the masters in economic development and infrastructure. Like I said, even when we were going through the slides, the advantage of the MA in urban studies and practice is that it allows you to curate a slightly more open-ended trajectory. And so, for example, if you were interested in bringing together, employment and livelihoods together with questions of social protection, it allows you to sort of craft that journey to curate a set of both courses in terms of content and thematic courses, as well as methods alongside, your internship as well as the studio experience that you get. So that I hope will help you answer it. Feel free to, spend a bit of time. I realize it's a very long list of courses and can be confusing. But I think that, I would really encourage you to spend a little bit more time with it. Feel free to reach out to us if you have more questions, but really it is up to you to decide whether you want to sort of dive in and focus very specifically on, questions of economic development and infrastructure, or would you like to have a slightly more open-ended trajectory in terms of the kinds of learning that you do. Also, do know that you do have the option of applying for up to 2 preferences, although we strongly encourage that you sort of put down as your first priority, whatever it is that you feel you're most closely interested in, because it's not sure whether you may or may not get your second priority. But if you are confused, you can put down both. But I would really encourage you to think a little bit about where you want your trajectory to go and then apply accordingly. You want to talk about careers?
Yeah, in terms of careers, I think one of the advantages of having a slightly open-ended course is that you can then curate for yourself and, through the process of 2 years, figure out which is the path that you want to take or what is the direction that you want to take. So if you want to enter into public policy and there's certain thematics that you're interested in, through this course, you can build that collection of courses that, would be interesting for you. And through the program, you could push yourself into a certain niche if that's of interest. Some people perhaps like to be more generalists because that allows them to have an open-ended view of how various urban systems work, and that's the jobs they are looking for, right? So as we said, and it's also in the brochure, the opportunities are across, say, academia, public and private sector, as well as the development sector. But it really, through this program, at least, the idea is to help you figure out what is that path that you want to take, and help you then take the courses that are required to reach that path in some sense. We're just reading the questions.
Yeah, there's a set of questions online. Mazhar has a question on interdisciplinarity. Sure, do you want to take this?
Yeah, so we do have, in the first semester when we do core theory, as well as in term three when you will do required courses, at least in this program, we will be having courses where we talk about social identity, where we talk about livelihoods. Some of these themes that you've sort of talked about is quite going to be at the center of how we understand the urban. And this will be covered theoretically in that sense. And just also reading the second part of the question.
And also, just while Divya is reading, Maza, just to respond that in terms of past student projects or faculty-led work, um, there are examples on our website, but also, just that each of the way that the learning journey through this is curated is that there will be some parts of it, and this I think goes also to a little bit of to your second question, is that there are parts of it that you will feel more comfortable, will be more familiar with, and there will be others that are actually designed to kind of help you in some ways unlearn and relearn some of the things that you have been taught as, for example, a sociology student. And that the methods courses particularly focus on allowing you to learn multiple methods, like you mentioned, GIS or policy science. And remember that your first year is collective. It's all masters, everybody across the IIHS masters will be together in shared classroom spaces. The practica is held together collectively. Your core courses are kind of jointly structured across. And so there will be a fair amount of interdisciplinary learning that happens across the cohort itself. And then it's from term three onwards that you start to slowly break off into the individual sort of masters-based trajectories. Um, in the Masters in Urban Studies and Practice, as you may recall from the slides themselves, there is the option for you to choose specific courses across any of the master's programs that are being offered, in addition to the ones that are specifically curated for this master's.
Your question on methods, well, because methods are in some sense discipline agnostic, you could learn a particular method and apply it to a range of various, types of questions. So you have the opportunity to learn, deep dive into a particular method. So you could pick GIS, as an advanced course and deep dive into it. And just because you're a sociologist, it doesn't mean you can't learn GIS. So there is no discipline to method matching because it's your question or it's what you're, particularly interested in pursuing that will determine what methods you require. So we do encourage our students to look through the entire gambit of courses that we have both in theory and electives, and they could then curate for themselves what is that specialization that they want in the second year. So yeah, just because you're from a particular discipline doesn't mean you will not be allowed or you cannot cope up, because there is also basic and advanced methods levels courses. So you could go very deep dive into a particular method in some sense. Also, to answer your other question, we do encourage peer-to-peer learning very strongly, and that is the whole, purpose of having a very open classroom where people come from various disciplines. Because if you're a sociologist, you could be learning from a planner in the same classroom. You could also be with somebody who's, being a lawyer who studied law before, and that interdisciplinary environment is something that we really seek to encourage. And peer-to-peer learning is at the crux of this kind of a classroom environment in some sense.
And some of this will happen in the classroom, some of this will happen through practica in the field. So there are multiple ways, and some of it will happen through your foundation courses, that allow for different types of learning to take place. The program is structured to give you a very well-rounded kind of approach to breaking down particularly disciplinary and or sectoral silos. So I'm now on the syllabus for the entrance exam. There are on our website, a set of, for reference purposes, a set of potential like sample questions. Do go through those and reach out to us if you have any questions. There's also information on the interview itself. It's not meant to be domain specific. It's really for us to get to know, yourself, and your interests in a little bit more depth, and it will be based on it's not a personality test at all. It's based on your written application.
Piyush, if you could clarify your question, I feel like it's not fully clear.
Unmute yourself and speak if you would like, Piyush.
Yeah.
Piyush, are you still there? Would you like to clarify your question a bit more? If you're asking whether you can take this, the urban studies and practice MA as a sort of precursor to an academic or a research career, yes, you absolutely can. There are kind of courses that allow you to do that. But I'm not sure what your question is in comparing it to the Economic and Industrial Development MSc. Okay, great. So yes, you can. But just so you know that there will be, the ability for you to learn research skills across the master's programs at IIHS. Other questions? I see Amna also, and for anyone else who's interested, the sample question paper is in the chat. If you guys want to link through to it.
Hi, Neha and Divya,
Hi.
Jashvita. And I had a kind of a silly question, but I thought I might as well just ask because I wanted some clarity. Are we going to have exams between semesters? What is the flow from semester to semester going to be like?
That's not a silly question, quite a valid one in Indian education system at least.
There will be assessments of different kinds and different natures because the courses are very different themselves. Not all of them will lend themselves to a conventional exam. So there will be a variety of assessments. There's not a single, assessment approach, but you will be graded, you will be assessed. And the criteria will be made very clear to you at the start of the course. So you'll know what you're going to be assessed on.
Yeah, it could range from being an exam to being a class presentation to being a group presentation to actually writing an essay. So it could be a diverse set of things from which a particular faculty choose to pick, what kind of assessment frameworks they want. But it definitely won't be, I think, 6 courses of just exam writing. Yeah, there will be a rubric against which these things will be set up.
And I had one more question.
Sure.
Which is related to what Amala asked earlier. In fact, my question was pretty much the same. But I wanted to understand the level up to which we would have to prepare for the general mathematical ability test. And the other thing that I wanted to ask is if the second part of the paper, do we have to look at everything related to urbanization and climate change and environment in India, or what is that? As in, like, if you could point us to some niche. I know it's not possible considering it's the thing itself is broad-based, but if there is a guide that you can
So I would suggest you look at the sample question paper that's been shared. It'll give you a very clear idea of the kinds of things to expect. This is meant to be, very open-ended, interdisciplinary, and so there isn't really, a textbook or a guidebook that we can give you. It's really not structured that way. The program is structured quite differently. So the sample question paper will offer you some insights into the kinds of questions you can anticipate. And the second part of it also, I mean, it really is meant to be sort of, from your experience, right? And writing from, what you have worked on, studied, drawing on your own, urban experience. There really isn't like a set, fixed response that we would point you towards or that we would encourage you. I mean,
Oh,
there
no,
isn't
I'm not asking about the application form wala second part. I was asking about the first part of the sample paper that I went through. It had a general I'm not getting the right word right now, but basically analytical reasoning and all of that. So is there like a level of books or material that we can refer?
Not really. There really isn't anything. If you were if you were able to look at the sample questions there and felt comfortable with them, you'll be fine.
Oh, great, great. Okay, thank you.
Just also in the essays, I think, and this is to you and to others also on the call, it would be really useful for us to get to know you better through your essays. So instead of it being just a generic sort of summing up of what the world looks like, it would be very useful for us to know how do you relate to this question, or what about this question, how do you relate your experiences, the way you see the urban around you, because that will give us a sense of your interaction, your ability to process what's around you in some sense, right? So we do definitely encourage it to be more personal than generic in that sense.
Yeah, draw on your learning, your work, your experience, even just living in a city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Yeah, we also got a response, a more specific response on part A and part B of the test itself in the chat if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, yeah, I just did. Thank you so much.
I think through the process, the idea is not to throw a googly at you, but to really, get a sense of how are you able to grasp a variety of things that can help you build your application in some sense and gives us a better sense of who you are as a candidate.
Yeah, this helps. Thanks so much.
I had a question. Do you have like a minimum number of students in the course?
No, if you look on the website, there's a threshold of the number of students that we'll take per masters. But there really isn't, we're not looking at any other sort of criteria apart from that.
Okay. And this is a question that I had, but I haven't voiced it till now. What is the reason for a age cutoff?
The age cutoff is well, partly because we emphasize peer-to-peer learning a lot, and it really just is a question of having people who have had similar life experiences, put like working together. It also allows us to curate a class that is looking for similar kind of learning outcomes. What we found often is that if there's a very wide kind of age disparity within the classroom, learning outcomes and expectations are end up becoming a little too diverse. That doesn't end up facilitating the peer-to-peer learning process quite as much.
I wanted to know, in the last semester, we have an option to do either a dissertation or an internship, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
can you tell us what kind of experience to expect with both of these options?
Sure.
So with the internship, it is with the host, as we've already listed the kinds of organizations that you could go to. With the dissertation, you would have a mentor within IIHS who will help you sort of work through with the dissertation. So you pick a topic of your own, and it has to be it's a topic sort of deep dive into it. So there will be a research question. So think of it like an MA dissertation that you would typically work on through the entire semester in some sense.
Got it. Thanks.
Anything else we can help answer? Like I said in the beginning, I would really encourage all of you to get started on the application form early and finish it, as soon as possible. Don't wait till sort of the final date to submit. We don't want to have you kind of struggling at the end. So we usually end up having a very big rush of people submitting, and I'd really encourage you to preempt that by submitting sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Since you're like here and we're just talking, I'm having all these questions bubbling up.
No problem.
I wanted to know what the campus experience is like. For as in, I have never lived in a hostel. What are the things do you think we can expect? I know I've gone over the website and I have seen through what is available, but based on what you guys experience, and also in terms of how much access we have to the city itself, because it is at a considerable distance from the main city.
So the kind of residential facilities aren't super far from here. You will have access to the city. In earlier years, our learners have had access to all of Bangalore, both to explore on their own, but also through the practica and studio-based learning that we have over here. The shared sort of residential facilities are a lot of them also actually are part of the pedagogic process here at IIHS, because like we've been saying for a while, that peer-to-peer learning makes a huge difference, and we found that a lot of this learning is not really tangible. A lot of it happens in sort of the in-between spaces, in the white spaces, in the spaces that the class spends together, especially across different especially when you're across different classes and sections and things like that. And staying in the same place allows you the opportunity to share a lot more, to learn a lot more from each other. And so I would look at it not just as a place where you're kind of going to stay, but as an extension of the time that you spend with your classmates, to use that as much as a learning space and not necessarily just academic skills, but a whole range of life skills that you will learn by sort of living in the same kind of shared space as everyone else. And so think of it as an extension of the classroom. Think of it as part of the pedagogic process, because that's how we think of it. We very much think of the living space as an extension of the classroom itself. Ravi, on the current projects that we're working on.
So I'm currently working on a range of projects that look at childcare infrastructure for children of informal female workers. So say the construction sector, domestic work. We're also working with a couple of state governments to sort of expand various childcare programs in their respective states. And I think this is really critical from the perspective of female labor force participation, but also a range of child-related outcomes like better nutrition, safety, health outcomes, and early childhood education as well. So that's the kind of work that I'm currently involved in at IIHS.
And I've been working on a few different things of late. I've just closed out a large 2-year policy project, sort of an applied research piece of work on looking at water governance. The other part of things that I'm working on is looking at the governance of large infrastructure projects, and we've just been working with a set of state governments on helping them develop policy for sustainable urban transitions, and sort of are building out a larger portfolio research work around that question. Mazhar, to think of, actually, you've come to the right place if you don't want a conventional urban planning career. There are, only a small section of our alums who've gone into very conventional urban planning. A lot more have actually been doing the kind of work that you've detailed out, which is research, working with policy, whether in think tanks or with the public sector and different kinds of government institutions. Several students have gone. I mean, like we listed in the slides, they've worked across policy, across think tanks. Several of them have gone on since then to do both, various kinds of further studies. Some have gone on for additional master's degrees. Some have gone on to do and pursue doctoral programs. And they've ranged from going to policy to environmental studies to, some have gone and done urban planning, but it's a very, very wide range and a very wide spectrum. And actually, the people who go into conventional urban planning careers end up being a much smaller number than you would think. And this is meant to be, unconventional. And if you look at the website, you'll see the kinds of trajectories that our alums have had, coming from different educational backgrounds and going across and doing multiple different things from, film and media all the way to law and policy and governance. Manisha, I'm happy to hear that you're going to finish your admissions entry immediately after this webinar. Looking forward to the application.
No, I have to write my essay. It'll take a while, but I wanted to understand, okay, what are all these questions and like I wanted to. But
Yes,
my
yes.
everything except my essays, I don't have to sit on my essay. I just
Great,
needed a little bit of clarity on what.
great. Maza, I hope that answers your question. Great. Any other questions that you have about the courses, about our work?
I had another one.
Yeah, please.
I was just looking at the people profiles on the website, and you come from uh, a traditional like a planning and thing background in the sense of your masters and your PhD. Um, I just want you
I
to give.
don't actually, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I must have mistaken. I'm really sorry. But
No,
okay,
no,
if
not at all.
what is your thing of I mean post graduation if you have done? Uh,
My trajectory, so I did
yes.
an undergraduate degree in economics, a master's
All right.
degree in environmental studies, and a
Mhm.
PhD in urban planning.
Okay. So
So
these were like very like what do you say? At least it sounds like okay, topic, and topic versus this, which is an interdisciplinary thing. How would you say if you were at my position? What value would say the interdisciplinary add versus what you did as your environmental studies or your urban planning?
So actually,
It's a good
it's a
question.
very good question. And I will say that while the degrees sound, I mean, my economics degree was straight up an economics degree, but my master's and then later on my PhD were actually quite interdisciplinary, even though it says, it was an environmental sciences degree. So I did everything from, biogeochemistry and urban ecology to law, policy, and governance in my environmental studies course. And I actually went on to work as an environmental planner for the city of Boston for a couple of years after that. So I was able to take kind of learning from my economics trajectory and my environmental studies trajectory. And but the thing that was challenging was I had to put it together, when I was learning on the job on how to bring all of these different perspectives together. The advantage, and the advantage of a program like this is that it is designed to help you bring all of these multiple perspectives together as you go through the program. So it allows you to situate questions of economic development alongside questions of environmental sustainability. It allows you to bring together questions of infrastructure development alongside the question of informal livelihoods and employment. And lets you situate these together as you go through them, giving you a much broader perspective on the ways in which you learn, the ways in which you see the city. And especially for the way sort of we think of urban planning conventionally in at least in Indian academia is very spatially deterministic. It depends a lot on physical planning, a lot on land use planning, and what this allows you to do is open up that much more to look much beyond just conventional ways of understanding the urban. Yeah.
No, I mean, same similar answer. My undergrad was in literature, and I went to do a master's and PhD in social work. And I think within IIHS, the environment of interdisciplinarity has really helped sort of even broaden my own questions. My interest primarily was on, informal work and livelihoods. But today I ask questions of health, about infrastructure, about governance, and the starting point is labor. So you always, you sometimes find that anchor, one question or one concept or one idea that you start with. But then interdisciplinarity doesn't mean being a generalist to an extent that you don't know what you're doing, but it means finding one anchor point, but being able to be in conversation with multiple ways of thinking from that anchor point. So don't think of interdisciplinarity of as as anything goes, but it's more like a way of thinking that is more holistic because it brings together multiple strands to your research question and your conceptualization of a problem.
Or your practice.
Or your practice, of course.
Yeah, I think that helps understand it better. I a lot of my questions are coming up from a point of, hey, how do I answer questions to the person in front of me? Um, that is the struggle at the moment that I'm having. That how do I explain, hey, this to a person in front of me?
I hope this has helped. I think the other way of also looking at the way sort of interdisciplinary opens up is we also use different pedagogic methods and techniques in the classroom, right? So it's not all in-class learning. You will spend at least 40% of your time outside learning in the city itself. So it's a way of also seeing everything that you learn in class, whether it is in your core courses or your foundation courses or even some of your elective courses, and actually then seeing how it plays out in the city itself. And so that's partly why the practica runs alongside both the general, the core practica runs alongside your core courses, and then you have your interdisciplinary elective practica that runs across your electives as well, which allows you to then either sort of juxtapose what you're studying in the classroom with different perspectives in the field, or kind of get them to dovetail and understand depending on where in your learning journey you are.
And actually, just to add to that, the practica is really a great space for you to push yourself theoretically, to take your classroom learnings, go out and see if they really match or if they don't, or why are they different. But at the same time, it also pushes you methodologically, because when you go into the field with a research question, sometimes it feels like you're just going to go and interview somebody, or you're going to conduct a set of survey, you're going to collect survey records. But you go outside and you realize you also have to be creative methodologically to be able to get to the kinds of answers you require for your question. And so, in that sense, the practica is really very important because it anchors all your other classroom based learning, and helps you sort of compare and contrast, practice and research and theory together sometimes. So, that's really an effective sort of pedagogical tool as well.
Does that answer your question, Manisha? Will it help you respond?
In a way, I think I need to figure out how to communicate it myself. Like, I've understood it, a lot of things I understand in my brain, that why this course interests me. I'm facing problem with like translating it into things
Maybe-
that a person can
If you try
understand.
writing your essay, then that'll help.
Yeah, I really think I just need to sit down and write my essays, and that will really help. That's true.
I'm glad, Mazhar. I'm glad you found it helpful. Just remember, we're around to answer any questions that you might have, even if you can't think of them right now. But as you're going through the process, please just feel free to email us, call us. We're happy to answer any questions you might have, and I'm here to help. For those of you who are in Bangalore, we do have an open day at our campus on June 14th. Details on our website and on our social media. So if you're here, please come see us. We'd be very happy to meet. We have about 5-7 minutes left for any kind of last questions that folks might have. Feel free to, again, unmute yourself and speak, or type it into the chat. So just as we sum up, just to remind you that this is sort of the MA in Urban Studies in practice. It is kind of meant to enable you to craft your own learning journey across the different kinds of course offerings that we have at IIHS. It's meant to create system integrators to allow you to, like Divya was saying, speak to multiple strands of urban studies and policy and practice. Admissions are open. We're looking forward to having you guys submit early. I know I keep saying it, but please do really submit as soon as possible.
We have another question.
Yeah, Rachel. That's a very good question. As someone who's grown up outside and is not too well versed in regional languages, it would help, but it is not essential. We usually curate practical groups to have a balance of multiple skill sets, which include language skills. So we will have a group of people who will have multiple skills across methods, disciplinary areas, as well as language. If you do have a regional language that you're comfortable in Bangalore, largely be Kannada, but don't let that hold you back from applying. Don't worry about it. We've had many students who've come through IIHS who haven't, obviously, because we have students from across the country and many students who have grown up or studied outside India, and they've managed and navigated the process just fine. So don't worry about it.
And who knows, through practical, you might start speaking a new
Exactly.
language too.
Wait, last couple of minutes for questions, if anyone has any. Thank you all very much for coming. Remember, our website's always there with all of the information that we discussed today. The prospectus has all of this in great detail. And please do feel free to reach out to us, email, phone, through any of our social media handles. And we'd be happy to help answer any questions that you might have. And good luck with the application.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you, Divya, for taking your time to answer some of these questions today. And thank you, everyone, for joining in. You can come and meet us on 14th of June. We have an open day. You can meet our faculty, alumni, look at the campus, get a tour of the library, get a flavor of what IHS is about. And we welcome everyone soon. Please do close your applications before 28th of June. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.